let me introduce myself. My name's Ceri Powell. I know some of you actually from years of coming to the EAGE, and it's absolutely wonderful to be back here once again. My current job is I'm the executive vice president for exploration in Shell, which means that I'm in charge of exploration for Shell globally. So to Africa, Asia, Middle East, Americas, North America, Latin America, Europe, Russia, etc. And I therefore have in my custodianship, I like to say, the community of about 800 to 900 geoscientists, geologists and geophysicists within Shell. And we explore in about 32 countries, and I'm very, very passionate about the female technical professionals and female expert support from HR, from legal, from finance, who work with me to make exploration success in Shell around the globe. So I've got the privilege to talk with you for a few moments just today. And yeah, again, it's working on here, but it's kind of not working up there. So I'm just going to keep going. It's coming, yay, that's great. So, super. So, yeah, it's a great honor to be with you here today, and I just wanted to take about 15 minutes. Not too many facts and figures, but maybe a few stories, a few hints, a few tips as to where I see the issues and also the opportunities for attraction and retention of women in the industry. I'm going to need help too. Yeah, okay, this is what you have to read in order for the Shell lawyers to let me stand up here. So you've all read that, that's now going to go away, and we've got a much more interesting slide here. So, yeah, okay, sure. This is about me. I've been with Shell for 26 years. I grew up in Pembrokeshire, in the southwest corner of Wales, very, very remote area. When I grew up, about 100 kilometres to the nearest traffic lights. So very, very rural, but what Pembrokeshire does have is some of the best geology on the planet. Everything from the Precambrian through to the Carboniferous. So I grew up in Pembrokeshire, and I think it was because of the passion of the geology teachers that I had there that I grew up starting to want to have a career in geology. But I got sidetracked. I had a change of plan. I decided when I was at school to be the first woman stockbroker in Britain. Why I decided that, I'm not entirely certain, but I went to university, studied accountancy and economics, was pretty bad at it. It was pretty bad towards me. And at the first year in university, I started skiving off the lectures and going to the geology lectures instead. So I did pass my Part 1 accountancy exams, but then I became a geologist, and I've never looked back, and that was probably something like 32 years ago. So my first small advice to you is follow your passion. Never be a second-rate version of somebody else. And you're clearly all passionate geoscientists to come to conferences like this. Keep the passion going, don't change it, and don't do something that in your heart you really, really don't want to do. So my PhD in structural geology led me to Shell, where I worked in the North Sea, and it was a very exciting time. It was the very first 3D survey. Shows how old I am. Can you imagine? Coloured pencils, seismic lines on paper, etc. And then I really got an understanding of what it takes, the brain power it takes in terms of technical complexity. And I think that's a real feature of our industry today, is the amount of technical complexity that there is within the jobs we do every single day. And I'm absolutely convinced that my female colleagues with multitasking project management skills are really adept at handling technical complexity. And I think retaining your interest in the technical, that's part of leadership for all of us within this industry today. It is about corporate and it is about management, but for me personally, my happiest hours are where I'm behind a workstation with a seismic interpreter looking at the detailed technical challenges of a field or a prospect. So keep your technical interest. So on the next slide, we have, diversity in numbers. I truly believe that it is a business advantage to have a diverse workforce. You've got some figures up there, 47% increase in average return on equity and 55% average returns before interest from having a diverse workforce. These are McKinsey studies publicly available. It is business value accretive to have women as well as men, gender diversity, all forms of diversity within the workforce. Shell's board is now a very diverse board. There's female and male on the board, and you see it within the board dynamics. Very, very healthy, alternative, diverse viewpoints. And so, because of this, not just because it's a personal passion of mine as a female, it's actually a business passion of mine to add value to our industry by having diversity from graduates through to mid-level, through to very senior level in the industry. And I actually think there's much more we can do. And I think forums like this are a vehicle for doing much more in the industry. There's not enough of us, senior female leaders, at the top of the industry. So how do we take that responsibility to pull female colleagues, gender diverse, other diversity colleagues through the ranks to become the leaders of the future? So how a little bit would we do that? Firstly, it's about attracting diverse talent. Greater than 50% of graduates in many countries are now female. It's there's no excuse. The graduates are there. So how do we bring them in? And I think it is also about a culture that fosters diversity, but fosters inclusion within meetings, inclusions within decision making. How do you not only talk about diversity, but you demonstrate it every day through the inclusive nature of doing your business? And we have to embed inclusion into the way in which we operate every day. And that inclusion also gives us a better understanding of our stakeholders, our customers, and our partners around the world. The demographics are changing. You can see it on this slide. More than 50% graduates female. That's a big, big demographic shift within the world, not only within our industry. So you'll see within Shell, 50% of our graduate intake is female. 50% of my geologists and geophysicists coming into Shell are female right now. I employ 168 women around the globe, and I just talked about a figure of about 800, so I don't have overall 50% women. It's not the issue about attracting females, it's an issue collectively about the retention of females within our industry, and I'd like to talk about that next. But for graduates, the most important thing is to be passionate about what you do. Have technical curiosity as a graduate and then up through the levels in the industry. Some of you may have been at the forum in which I talked this morning, and we talked about the importance of the energy industry, powering the planet in the generations to come. It's about water, it's about food, but it's about energy as well. The energy transition to renewables as well as fossil fuels. But how do we play a part in that and understand our role in that bigger picture? It's a massive challenge for the planet, and we as geoscience professionals are part of that. So stand up and be proud of your technical capabilities and be passionate about what you do. So in terms of attracting diverse talent, and then what do we do to develop diverse talent? And for me, development of young professionals in Shell is a simple phrase actually. It's making decisions autonomously as fast as possible. Time to autonomy. Again, it's a business value thing. So if I can have a geoscientist who can make completely independent decisions on $50 million wells after only 5 years in the company instead of 10 years in the company, that's just added business value, right? I've got more professionals able to make autonomous decisions. So how do we do that? Get people to autonomous decisions as rapidly as possible. And one thing I've put up here, take a risk. Those of you who are more senior in this audience, take a risk on, bringing forward younger females. And those of you who are more junior, demand your leaders to take a risk on you, to do a project that you've never done before, in a country that you've never been to before. Just, a bit more risk, I think, from all levels in the organization. But within Shell, what we try to do is not put people out there to take unreasonable risks. We try to encourage the rotation of professionals at very young age. You can see Lucy here. She's a geoscientist from the West Africa team. And what is she doing right there? She's the assistant drilling manager for 10 wells a week in Jordan when we were drilling Jordan. So a geoscientist working on West Africa from the UK is the assistant drilling manager in Jordan for 4 months. That is real boots on the ground experience. And that gets you to time to autonomy in terms of decision making pretty fast. So I would encourage you who are able to do that in companies to actually seek out the opportunities to do decision-making jobs as fast as you can within your early career. But also to be networked with other young geoscientists. I think the examples that were shown just now about LinkedIn, job search, how to be connected with other young geoscientists. In Shell, we have a young professionals network. I sponsor them to get together once a year. They go on a 5-day field trip. They share their experiences around the globe, once a year face-to-face, but many times through the year. So again, if you're not getting that experience, reach out. Why not in your company? Why not have a young professionals network? Not only female, but male as well. So a couple of things there about developing the diverse talent. But then what happens? Because I spoke about the difficult demographic, retaining diverse talent. And I don't know about other companies, but I seem to lose women between the ages of 30 to 35. That seems to be when I start to get some additional attrition. And then we don't get enough women to senior management levels. So what I thought, let's turn this on its head. We talk a lot about flexible working, but who really stands out there and does something about it? So 3 years ago, I put a stake in the ground and I said, every job in Shell exploration around the globe can be done part-time. And then I had an interesting conversation with the HR director immediately after that, who heard about this. And I said, well, you're going to need to fix it because I've just announced it as a new global policy. And that's a little bit taking a risk as well. And I realize I sort of have the permission to do that. And then it's really about the definition of flexible working. And flexible working is not working from home necessarily. Flexible working might be a young mother who chooses to go home in agreement with her line manager 3 days a week and works or picks up the kids or plays with the kids from 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock every day, and then formally logs on from 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night. And if she's in Houston or Holland, if she's in Holland like I work, if she connects with Houston from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, that is a hugely efficient way of doing business. Much more efficient than her being in the Holland office when Houston's still asleep. So also, how can we bring flexibility into making it business value? So again, really push for the examples. Flexible working does not mean part-time working, but equally, if people choose to work part-time, that should be great too. At the other end of the spectrum, retaining diverse talent at the last few years before they retire. So we've also had a program in Shell by which males and females actually, 1 to 2 years before they retire, they could choose to do part-time working. But they not part-time Monday to Wednesday, part-time by which you do 6 weeks work, special project, coaching, mentoring, then you may have 4 weeks in Provence or Bali or wherever you wish to go. And then you come back for 3 weeks, and then you're away for 8 weeks. So again, tailored solutions, tailored careered solutions for wherever you are in your career. And I'm absolutely convinced this care for the individual is the way by which we're going to retain the really, really diverse, vital talent for the future. And I talked a little bit there about resilience. And I think it's absolutely vital right now. This industry is going through a downturn like I haven't experienced in my career. And there was a bad one previously in my career, but this seems to be taking longer. Somebody said that at the forum this morning. So I think it is about reaching out, taking more care of each other, watching out for colleagues who seem to be more under stress. And, and I know that many women, as well as male colleagues, but many women in the business who work with me and for me are juggling work, life, ambition, happiness, sports, elderly parents. They're juggling the whole, work-life balance conundrum. So in these difficult times, reach out to each other, think about resilience. A resilient team is made up of resilient individuals. And as people go, through different cycles, in their thinking as a response to this difficult time within the industry, have patience with some people, which may be on a different resilience curve to each other. So it's really about a heightened recognition of what anybody needs in this time, this difficult time within the industry. And I'm very happy to talk more about that in the table discussions a little bit later. So a couple of last slides and then I'll finish. Sponsorship. I was delighted to hear about the e-mentoring, and that is a fantastic opportunity to be mentored. But there's a difference between mentoring and sponsorship. Mentoring is talking with you. Sponsorship is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So how do you look for a sponsor who will speak up on your behalf when there is a promotion panel, when there is an opportunity for a new job and you're not in the room? But how do you build a relationship with the figures who are in that room, whether it's your line manager, your exploration manager, your development manager, or ultimately your vice president? So sponsorship, especially for women, I feel it's a really important and often missing link. So mentoring is vital, but I think sponsorship is also really, really important. And once again, you know, when I sponsor female and male colleagues, I speak up for them when they're not in the room. When there's this dreadful expression, let's take a risk on her, because she's never done the job before. And my reaction to that is, why don't we take a risk on the tall Dutch guy? Because he's never done the job before either. And I think it really is about, you know, how do you take responsibility for talking positively about the female colleagues who are not in the room with you. So those of us in the room who are more senior, please sponsor female talent more than at the moment, because you'll be taking a risk yourself to do that, but I think it's vital to get more female talent into the progression panels, into the next jobs, and collectively we have a responsibility to push that forward. So that's about sponsorship. And what can we talk about? Visibility. The little statue there is, I talked about 168 women who work for me. I know all of them. I'm very proud I know them all. I don't know them all well, and I haven't known them all for so long, but I know them all. And what we do is this little statue was given to me at a gathering a little bit like this 3 years ago, and it's a woman helping another woman up the stairs. And so what we do is once per month, somewhere in the world, between the 168 female explorers in Shell, this statue gets passed from one to another with a testimonial about how the recipient of this statue is really, really inspiring to yourself personally, but also to the other colleagues in exploration. So once a month, on the first of each month, all the female colleagues in exploration in Shell get a little email with the picture of the person and the picture of the statue, and with your morning cup of coffee, you can be a little bit inspired by another female colleague. And it really makes a difference, because it puts a spring in your step around the globe, wherever you are, on the first of each month. And what I do then, when I travel around the world, I go and visit the statue. I go deliberately and visit where is it, on which explorer's desk, and why that female explorer is an inspiration to others. And I visibly spend time with that explorer, understanding her story and what we can all learn from her. So once again, it's a very simple thing. It creates a network, and forgive me for male colleagues who are in the room, it creates an enormous amount of jealousy amongst our male colleagues, who then react in a good way by making sure they have networks and statues of their own, which is great, because the more networking, the better. So to finish, and forgive me if I've taken longer than I should, some final reflections. In the middle bottom there is a cartoon which was drawn about me by Cardiff University. So there I'm in my hard hat with some Middle East background there, and you know, where I'm happiest with my geological hammer and my hard hat. And some reflections then. Understand the context of the power you have as a female technical professional and embrace your diversity. It may not always be obvious. And my one small story about this, if I may. I once was with a minister in a very important delegation in a very major oil-producing state in the world. And he asked the entire delegation, except for me, my delegation, would they leave the room? And he said he wanted to talk to Dr. Powell privately. Everybody left, and he said, I noticed his office was very large and very empty. And, and it didn't look great. And he sat me down and he said to me, may I really, really ask for your help? I've been told I need to choose all the furniture for this office today, and my wife is travelling, and I really don't know who to ask, because everybody in my department is male. Would you help me choose the furniture? And at that moment, I could have been offended as a female leader. I could have said, why me? You could choose somebody else. But instead, don't be offended. Embrace your diversity. We sat there for an hour going through the catalogues of tables and chairs and sofas and curtains and carpets, and we chose the furniture together. But from that moment on, I never had an issue with one day's notice of entering into that minister's office, and we did many, many deals together over the years to come because of that one personal connection where I chose to embrace my diversity instead of going the other way and thinking of it as a bad thing. So just my one small story to how to create business value again out of your diversity. So in summary then, I hold out a lot of hope. I hold out hope for women with great technical excellence, the ability to multitask and take on complex problems. It is what our industry needs right now, and I'm absolutely certain that female technical colleagues can rise to that challenge. The easy oil and gas is gone. We're hearing that technical presentation after poster presentation right now. It's taking more brain cells per barrel to extract the oil and gas remaining on the planet. So we need a broad and diverse workforce. We need every brain cell that we can get our hands on in this industry. And 50% of the technical brain cells on the planet are female. So we need to grasp the opportunity. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I've given you a few small reflections.
Thank you, Ceri, for a very inspiring and motivating talk. Now I invite Wiebke